From Significant, this is Crack It in an Hour.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. I'm Simon.
I'm Jesse.
I'm Roman.
And for those of you who've heard us a lot, you know the deal. This is one problem to crack in 1 hour, once a week. And two of us have no idea what the problem is, and one did a lot of research around it. This week,
Me.
It is Jesse. But first, Roman, do you want to start the clock?
Are we starting the clock now?
This is when you start the clock.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, let's
do
go.
it.
The clock is on.
I know we really mangled the introduction of ourselves there, but that's either going to be really telling for the kind of episode we have,
I know.
or not.
We'll see.
I guess time will tell. Okay.
I like this arrangement, by the way. For
New
those
setup.
Yeah, cool new
This is
setup.
good.
Just
Yeah.
hanging around.
hanging around a table. All right, let's do it.
Okay. All right. So I'm always excited.
Good.
You know, I'm
Really?
less excited when I'm hosting, but I am actually kind of excited about this topic. I think it's the perfect time literally the perfect time to discuss this. So
Okay.
here we go. I'm just going to jump straight into
Yeah,
it.
do
I was
it.
going to
Go
ask
for
you
it.
guys a question, but actually I decided I'm just going to tell you what it is.
Your show.
Okay. I want to talk about the future. Just the future. That's it.
Good subject.
Okay.
How do we fix the
How do
future,
we
you guys?
Fix the future.
I want to discuss the future of college degrees and universities. I know that you guys
I need a
have.
That's
shot.
a meatball.
I know. But
Big
I was
ol'
thinking,
meatball.
you guys all week were talking about how you had, I know your kids are not quite at college age, but you had graduations this week.
Yes.
You've got kids moving into different, like into middle school,
100%.
Into high school, moving into high
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
And
It's
I
crazy.
was like, it was on my mind. And then I was thinking, man, like Simon, what is your college degree?
I have it's weird. In the faculty of mathematics, I have a bachelor or an honors degree of mathematics in the field of computer science.
And you do creativity and have a strategy
Correct.
company. And Roman?
Much more straightforward in terms of what I studied and what I do. A master's in marketing from a business school.
Okay, so that's great.
Good.
We have
That's on the nose.
Yeah,
That's
I
for
mean-
what you
Exactly.
That serves
Hey.
a purpose.
The business guy has business.
The
That's
business
good.
guy has
That's
business
good for us.
marketing.
We should have checked before
I
we went
know.
into.
Yeah.
Well, it's on my LinkedIn. So,
And
you
I
know,
have a degree in film.
Right.
So
which makes no sense and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
no
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I can make lots of parallels, but it's interesting. Two of us have
Very off.
degrees that are somewhat off from what we do.
Yeah.
One of us, not so much. You're sort of more parallel to the
Yeah.
career you have. But it's just, I mean, this has been a topic now for quite a while, really accelerated post-pandemic about the value of a college degree. Is it worth it? Is college just the world's most expensive 4-year group project, or is it still relevant? And is education on its way to becoming blockbuster or
Mhm.
not? You know, I think
Yes.
that's part of what I dug into a little bit is like, is the media being a little dramatic about the state of college enrollment and, you know, where we are, or are we really is the decline really there? So,
I really like this topic. I have a lot of thoughts already. This
a
is
great
something
one.
I've talked about to
Good.
other people. So I have takes already
okay.
too.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay. Well, I've got a lot of stuff, but maybe I'll give you a little landscape. So you kind of do have a sense of the current enrollment, what's going
Yeah.
on. So yes, enrollment overall, it has been dropping. Okay.
Yes.
So it really peaked in 2010. We hit like peak enrollment in colleges. And since then it has been declining. Between 2010 and 2022, total undergraduate enrollment fell by 15%. So quite a lot. And
In 1 year?
2010 to 2022.
Okay, sorry. I thought I read
He has
heard
a
that
degree
wrong.
in mathematics.
Not listening.
It's a good thing you do creativity. No, it's been declining, and and I do want to clarify, I'm talking about mostly undergraduate.
Yeah.
And we are talking about both private and state school. So there are lots of different numbers, and we don't need to get into the details on like, I didn't even write them all down because there are so many different numbers.
I could be wrong, but I also know that like a lot of very like kind of like the tertiary schools have really fallen off a cliff.
Many have closed.
Yes.
A lot of colleges are closing. So yes, exactly. And basically COVID accelerated this trend as it did with many things, with over 1 million fewer students enrolling between just 2019 and 2021. So that's interesting. Now, I do want to clarify this because this is where I was like, ooh, I think there could be a little bit of a discrepancy in the data. And I want to bring it up early because I think it's interesting that overall enrollment decreasing. However, Ivy League applications are actually increasing. It is the only thing in college that is increasing, which, could basically suggest, and this is not a conclusion, I think this is an interesting topic for the table, that that it's not that having a college degree doesn't matter. It just matters where you get it from, which has not been the conversation.
It's become a luxury item.
And then, I'm sure, do you guys want to guess the average cost of attending a 4-year private college?
In America?
Mm-hmm.
Private college 4-year just for tuition?
No, tuition, fees, room and board. Basically what you would pay for the year.
Average
ungodly.
The average cost.
Average, I would put it at 180.
I'll say 250.
Oh, I'm per year.
Oh, per year.
Well, divide by 4.
Yeah,
45.
let's say 60.
It's about 60.
Yeah.
60,000 a year.
I'm good at math, guys.
You redeemed yourself. For public in-state, it's about 28,000 a year. Do you know the student debt number right now?
It's awful.
Yeah. 1.7, almost 1.8 trillion dollars in the US of student debt. And that is across 43 million borrowers.
Yeah.
So we're talking...
Did you do the math?
A lot of people.
A lot of money.
All I know is I'm in that camp, and
which I find
it's not a fun time.
Such a foreign concept to me. I don't know if it is to you.
Yeah.
But this idea of like people later than I would ever think you'd have student debt being like, I still have crazy student debt.
Yeah. It's really interesting.
It's real.
I'll give you just a couple more things and then I'll stop. But I do think some of these other points are interesting because the skepticism is real, right?
Yeah.
We've been reading about it. We see it in the media. There was a survey from Indeed, which I think is interesting because they're certainly looking at the job landscape. And right now you've got about over 50% of Gen Z graduates think that their college degree was not worth it at all.
Yeah.
And that is compared to 41% of millennials and 20% of baby boomers. So obviously that's that skepticism and doubt. I mean, you can track it sort of with the opportunities and success to make money in the market. But and the belief that a college degree guarantees you, the idea of what is a good job is also deteriorating. Or expanding, I should say. So young adults increasingly believe college doesn't necessarily guarantee upward mobility, which is what college was. I mean, college was essentially a ticket to the middle class. It was prestige. It was social mobility. And now it's a debt machine.
Sorry, did you essentially say that like the belief in college decreases as the world evolves, right? So you said,
I'm making that
of what you said.
Yeah.
But would there be a possibility that it's just that as you age, you recognize the value of it?
There's a possibility, but what I think about is when you I'm going to make a single parallel, and there are probably many.
Yeah.
But baby boomers entered markets where you could have a job, actually buy a house with the salary that you made, stay in that job for 40 years, retire, and live off your retirement. So when you're asking a survey in hindsight, I think it makes sense that only 20% of baby boomers are like, oh, that college degree was not worth it, versus 41% of millennials who can't buy houses or many who struggle to buy a house on salary, rising cost of living, cost of inflation. So I think...
So you don't think it's immature. It's not like, oh, now that I reflect on my life, I recognize the value of
No, you think it's when you enter the market.
You think it's economics?
I think it's economics, but I think you're raising an interesting question.
I think you're right. Yeah. Okay.
And the last stat I want to share with you, just because it sort of blew my mind a little bit, it takes an average of 11 years in the workforce to regain the investment for a bachelor's degree.
As like at current market costs.
Mm-hmm. And it's there are different don't send your kids to college. No, there are different.
Let's talk about that.
There are different I looked at the different degrees with the highest lifetime return on investment. And it was kind of interesting to see like finance is number 1, computer and information science number 2.
Which is about to tank.
Exactly. And I was thinking about how this chart is really going to shift. But a lot of like chemical engineering, mathematics, anyway. So, but the return on investment, it's not across many industries. So anyway, I'll stop there for now. I've got some other things we can talk about. But
can you finish by asking the question that we're trying to solve, just for my sanity?
My question is, what does the future of college education look like?
If we were to fix it.
If we were to fix it. And I'm saying college education, not universities, because I think part of the question is whether the physical university is still critical to the college education experience.
And then can we get into, like, again, we are God here.
We're God. We can get into anything.
We can do anything.
So if I can say like cut tuition price to a quarter of what it is, we can say that.
I mean,
but it's a little too convenient.
It's too
right?
Right? Yeah, sure.
Well,
like everything becomes public and
7 minutes in, episode over.
Never ending. Yeah. So, I mean, no, I think
do you have private colleges in France?
You do.
We don't in Canada.
You do. And some of the best ones, I shouldn't say that. Some private ones have a very, very, very good reputation globally.
Like this is
but they're not necessarily just the best ones. Like some public ones are incredible.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, in most lines of whatever, in most fields, you need the barrier to entry in private is higher.
Is the cost higher?
And the cost
in France
100% higher,
way higher.
But not like public's free. That's why anything is higher,
right?
And except for like you got to figure out your place to stay. There's no you sort of but public universities, some of them are just amazing, really amazing.
No problem if you didn't do it. But did you compare any of those really, really, really depressing stats to other countries?
I did not.
Okay,
I did not.
So because that's my first answer.
Send everybody to college.
It seems crazy because you're like, it's going to be expensive. Just go study abroad.
It's going to be cheaper. When you study abroad, you don't get it as cheap unless you're a local. Like Canada is a perfect, like they jack it up. I bet it's still cheaper than $60K.
I'm lucky that I'm considered a local in Canada.
Okay,
Are you really?
I am. Yeah.
Really?
That's why you have so many French people at McGill and Concordia.
It's great.
And
It's amazing.
And that's why I asked you one day, like, what's the reputation of McGill? And you're like, it's a good university.
It's a good university.
And then you ask anyone in the US on the West Coast, no one's heard of it.
Yeah.
No one's heard of it. It's insane. And people on the East Coast generally
know about it.
They've heard of it. But it's a really good uni. And I have like friends who send their kids to college at McGill. Because and when I grew up,
great place
McGill was like, oh God, you're going to McGill? Like it was like, you're going abroad across the Atlantic and it's not going to be crazy expensive. And
it's great.
Yeah. Anyway, we're not going to
we're not going to talk about Canadian. This isn't about the Canadian university.
There is a conversation to be had about cultural differences. But
let me suggest a starting place though before we jump into, and you guys can reject it and we can start somewhere else. But I would love to actually take a step back and talk about. I wanted to talk about two things. One, I wanted to have a conversation on what you think the perception of college is today, what the brand of college is, and let's talk about what we think the good parts are before we start to dissect what's wrong with it. I wanted to talk about what do we think the benefit of going to college is. Let's make the fight for it before we break down what's horrible.
I mean, this is going to be an incredibly personal conversation.
Absolutely.
My fight for it is much bigger than my fight against it. I would tell anyone I know, go to college.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the benefits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why we can talk about the college brand, which I don't think is very positive, but otherwise I don't have anything negative to say about going to college. I think people should go to college.
Yeah.
So the benefits to me, and you ended, I just start with one. And you kind of ended your introduction saying, you know, I'm going to talk about college education broadly, not necessarily just in person. I'm like, absolutely, college education has to be in person.
I agree.
Like college, first and foremost, is a school of life.
Yeah.
So it's the first time you are like, you're not going home for someone who's, you know, for most people, like grew up in a household where, I didn't cook much. Like my parents were cooking. And the dinner was ready. And I really didn't do my laundry much before I left home at 17, 18. And like, you just discover life. You just got to figure it out. And you discover what it means to be in society. You're starting from scratch. Your friends, generally speaking, are not with you. Yeah. So you remake friendships as an adult. You understand kind of like who you are and how you have to go about living in society as a whole. So I think just for that, college is absolutely amazing.
College is an experience, not just an education.
Yeah.
And I think that all that experience, and you're actually seeing that. What I was reading about recently was that there's been a huge surge in people sending their kids to Southern colleges. Why? Because Southern colleges have a reputation of being more interesting social places where there's more partying, there's more socializing, there's more getting to know things and things like that. And it's why are people seeing the value in that? Because that's a massive part of it. It is the social part of it. The saying I heard that I really like about college is like, you leave high school thinking you know everything, you leave college realizing you know nothing.
Oh, that's good.
And that's always been like kind of like, I think the strength of it, right? Which is like, you get in there and you kind of get put in your place and you sort of realize like, okay, I'm going to have to work for whatever I want to do in my life. Yeah. There's people that are smarter than me. There's people that are more interesting than me. There's all sorts of other things in this world that I don't even know anything about. And I think that's the power of college. I think the other big one for someone like myself, as much as like, this is kind of I don't know what to, in America, it's slightly different, but in Canada, basically there's universities, which are more theoretical thought. And then there's colleges, which are more practical. And so I went to a university for computer science. And so the thing about that I think the real value of that is, despite this world of AI and stuff, when I came into a class, they would go, this class is going to be, and literally I took a class on AI. They go, this class is about AI. By the way, you're going to be programming in C++. You have to figure out C++ on your own. We're not going to teach you that. We're going to teach you the fundamentals of AI, but you got to submit your homework through C++. So you were learning these ideas of ways of working, of structures, of all of this stuff. The actual programming itself wasn't being marked. It was figure it out. You're smart enough to figure it out. Yeah. And to me, that's like, I mean, you guys have worked long enough to know that like, I'm a big systems thinker. I'm a big like structure guy. And it
taught you that.
It taught me all of that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wholeheartily agree. I think the life experience is truly invaluable.
Yeah.
But my question is, everything that both of the things that you talked about, think like learning theories, learning ways of thinking, having social experiences, learning to cook on your own, learning to live on your own. Could you not just move to a city and have that same experience? Do you have to go to college to do it?
Well, I think just Simon highlighted like, so the first part was like what I call the school of life. Second part is like learning how to think a certain way. And I think for most people, again, can't speak for everyone, generally like, except for like very specialized schools, college teaches you a way to think, doesn't teach you things.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
You don't leave like
the
4
good
or 5.
Ones.
Or even sometimes very good ones teach you very technical things, right?
Yeah,
you go to like
I need to be an actuary. I need to learn how to be an actuary.
I need to be a heart surgeon. You see what I mean? But even the first year, it teaches you a way to think. Yeah. Right. You were taught a way to think like a computer scientist, like an engineer. Yeah. And like that's what from the takeaway, the academics, what I took away. And I wouldn't have had that if I'd gone at 17, just live in a city and look for a job.
And I think the thing about it that's good, and the reason I don't think it would be the same thing, frankly, is because I think you need to be around other people who are figuring it out and kind of like bump into each other and do all that. Cause like, I know if I was 18 and I left to go to a big city, I would have been like, cool, I'm going to move in with a bunch of skateboarders. I'm going to live basically a version of my life, but take a low paying job. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like you didn't have the space to kind of go like, oh, there's all these other people trying to figure out other things, and I'm going to kind of osmosis through them. You know what I mean?
I remember that we used to, I'm sure there are like a million college campuses that refer to themselves this way, but I did undergrad at Elon in North Carolina, and we used to refer to it as the Elon bubble.
Right.
And I think we actually said that almost, or it was said to us often as a bit of a threat, like from professors, you're going to leave this bubble and it's going to be a hard world out there.
Yeah.
But actually look back, and I think that a bubble is exactly what it's supposed to be, because it's a safe place to exactly what you said, find your way, make mistakes, experiment, like just like bump around into other people who are doing the exact same thing. And it's a safe place to do that. And I think you need a little bit of that safety.
You do.
In order to.
It's just when it goes too far or it's not enough.
Right.
It's like regulating that.
Yep. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. But now I want to ask a question. So I know, Simon, you watch a lot of college sports.
I do.
I watch a lot of college sports. Roman, I think sometimes you do, but
it's just it's only a thing in the US.
Yeah, it's not important.
Given I never grew up with it, I'm not in the culture of college sports.
It's the reason I bring it up is because whenever you watch college sports, there are a lot of commercial / rip video type things for universities. You basically see you basically see the most
the Big
massive
10 advertising
marketing for
100%.
universities, and so I find it interesting that I buy what when I asked what's good about college, what's important, you said school of life, you said ways of thinking. How do those universities market themselves in those videos?
It's mostly like, it's going to be fun. And we have some smart people here too.
Right?
You know what I mean?
It's like, look at this person in a lab.
Yeah, exactly.
Like inquisitively looking at us, looking smart. And looking,
are they welding something?
And then you got a welder. And then there's like somebody off in the field, doing some field work. And then, oh my God, we're on the football field again. So, I mean, and I get it. They're trying to show we've got something for everybody. And it's a bit of a, it's just a vibe check, I guess, to be like, oh yeah, I'd like to go to University of Kentucky. That seems like a sweet time. Like go Wildcats. But like, it's not communicating either of the things you guys are talking about.
No, it's not. I think, I don't know who those ads are for.
Yeah.
I was going to say
because when I watch them, I'm consistently like, so I don't think this is targeting an 18-year-old.
For sure.
I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I really don't. And I think like, it's like that we talk about this a lot in marketing, which is spoiler alert for people, which is like a lot of people make a lot of ads that are frankly like completely non-functional.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like they're just like, okay, you want to be on a Super Bowl because you want to show off. You think this is an old playbook, but this playbook's clearly broken. And it feels like it's another part of that, which is like the Big Ten got some free ad space and did an ad about Ohio State, but I could be totally wrong. Yeah.
It's, it deserves a bit of a good Old Spice strategy. Like, hello ladies, like who's
this for?
Who's the real audience?
Who the fuck is buying? And I actually don't know. I know who's paying most times, but I don't know who's
how far would you go?
How much of the decision is on the parents or on the?
I want to talk about this because this is interesting because inherently connected to the future of this is who's buying it.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
So in your mind, your kids are a little bit further along than mine are. What would be your lines of, I don't think I'm going to pay for that?
Oof.
And let it be
I'm 4
on the
years
permanent
away,
record.
So maybe let's say I'm 2.5 years away from real deal conversation. I haven't gone that far yet.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to wrestle with that too.
It would the line would be like pretty. It would have to be pretty shocking.
Because like mine is like I don't know. My struggle is like with the price thing. If they were like, I want to go out of state to a nothing special school and study something I could study basically anywhere, I think I'd have a tough time trying to figure
it back to dollars, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it through like what
their
would
future.
I absolutely not want. Yeah. I think that's a good rationale, but it would need to be a conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no
because I think
sight unseen,
I think school of life also means like I think we live in LA, right? Like if your kid gets into UCLA is a pretty amazing school.
It's a great school.
But if they say, I'm not sure I want to be down the street, because it's literally like 8 minutes drive away from your house.
From
your house. So I'm like,
it happens a lot.
Okay, fair enough. So what do we do? And it happened to friends of ours recently. They're like, they don't want to go down the street.
I think the question you asked is an interesting one, and there are almost like there's a segmentation, of course, of how people sort of decide where to go to college. I think there's a large group of people that leaving, even if you grew up in what somebody would consider the most amazing state or city in the world, like there is a huge segment of teenagers that like the need to leave home is very important, right?
Of course.
And that's
my
part
personal
of
experience.
Part of the school of life. There's a large segment, or for sure a segment, I don't know how large it is, of kids that get pressure to go to the college their parents went to. Some parents have really strong associations. Like,
I know a few of those parents already.
Especially I see it most often, and I don't have numbers on this, I'm just going to speak anecdotally, but I see it most often when the parent was super involved in either like a sorority or fraternity on that campus, or played a sport on that campus and feel very tied to the identity of that school, and they pressure their kid. I mean, that's in every classic coming of age film. Yeah. It's like the dad pressuring the son to go to Vanderbilt or wherever. Yeah. Sorry, that's where my dad went. So I don't know. That's what my dad didn't pressure me to go to Vanderbilt. But whatever, the son wants to go somewhere else. Yeah. There's that. There are kids who have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
That was me. I found choosing college to be extremely overwhelming. I should have looked up the number.
I've seen you order food. I'm not surprised about that.
Okay, well, you want to know how I chose my college? I'm going to tell you this story. I think people will be like, wow, she's insane. I was like, I'm going to close my eyes and pick a state on the map, and I'm only going to look at colleges in that state. What? And that's it. I'm just going to look at colleges in that state. I picked the state of North Carolina. I had never been. My family had never been to North Carolina. And I was like, I want to.
That speaks volumes for us, Simon.
And
that's crazy.
Like how she chose her partner.
I'm like, narrow it down and don't look back. You just happened to be there.
We were just in a deck of 52 cards.
Closed my eyes, and my mom and I flew down to North Carolina, started on the Outer Banks, as far east as you can get, and we drove west across the whole state and looked at colleges. And then we drove back home. I guess we would have driven down, but anyway, we drove back home to Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Between North Carolina and Pennsylvania, a lot of good colleges. I refused to get out of the car. My mom pulled up to colleges in Virginia, and I was like, I'm not getting out of the car.
Really?
North Carolina or nothing.
Wow. So it was I know a few in North Carolina. They have a few.
Yeah, there's some good ones.
Yeah.
But my point is there are. So back to the point of how colleges market themselves, I think these like just mass marketing, the standard marketing is what you see in the Big Ten games, or like people are still literally sending brochures.
Totally. But I those rankings matter a lot too.
They do.
There's a few things that like there's a few big colleges that were like, we're not being a part of those rankings.
You have intermediaries too.
Yeah. And if you look at, frankly, the brand, like, I mean, I hate to say this, but like the reason people are applying to Ivy Leagues is because they're like, screw it. What's the difference between 60 grand and 80 grand?
Exactly.
If that's going to be the appeal I get from saying I went to, Dartmouth, is a lot bigger, holy crap, than I went to insert any other school.
Yeah, that's nice that you didn't name a school.
Yeah, I'm not
going to insult anybody.
Yeah. You know what I mean? But it is like when we start to get to the point where those numbers are so insane, your thought process changes as to what you're trying to get out of it.
Totally.
And the other one too, and this is something that I don't have a lot of connection to in Canada, but it's a way bigger deal in America. Alumni is a thing. Yeah. Alumni is a thing. And if you go to a place like Harvard, it sets you up in a different circle of people than, other schools.
It's true.
And it's like that part is something that like in Canada, it's education. It's not really that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think there's a whole form of nepotism that is like the alumni network.
It's crazy.
Really powerful. And so, I mean, I think that's one of the interesting questions if we're talking about what's the value of a college degree and people are questioning. I think a lot of the conversation is looking very one-to-one at cost, degree, job market.
Totally, 100%.
And I think what we're talking about is the power of an alumni network, the power of life experience, the power of learning, thinking in systems. And those things are so hard to justify at $60,000 a year.
And it's such a different conversation.
They do use it in marketing. Once you're in there and you're visiting the thing, they're marketing as such, right? But it's the intangible. I still think you should judge it based on like cost, value, job you're going to get out of that.
But that's the part that's deteriorating. So let's talk about that because enrollment is declining, right? But we are seeing trade schools go up significantly.
What's a trade school?
So like entering into going to culinary school,
cool.
a construction
being
trade
program,
electrician, mechanic and repair program. So
awesome.
They're seeing growth.
Because it's an obvious end.
Correct.
And it's way cheaper.
And because for now, like
that's a lot more job security.
Exactly.
Way more job security.
So let me ask you, what would you do if one of your kids said, let me back up one second, because there's the trade school thing and then there's the creator economy, and we can roll our eyes at that. But many people are the idea of a job has expanded into a much broader definition of what you can do. Can I interrupt
on this just for 1 second? Just look at percentages. Creator economy is like wanting to be in Hollywood. There's zero chance of you making a living out of it. That's my limit on my kid saying, I want to be a creator. I'm like, okay, let's talk. Let's look at the numbers.
It is the new Hollywood. It is like instead of moving here, you just start up a YouTube channel.
And then you make nothing because you're one in like 10 million trying to make the same thing.
So thank God when I said I wanted to go to film school, my parents didn't say no.
Film school means so many different things. I'm talking about, I want to be an actor in Hollywood, or I want to be the best director.
Or I want to be an influencer.
Exactly.
I want to be famous.
I want to be an influencer.
So you're saying the
irony of us having a podcast about this is hilarious.
This is not our job, guys.
No, but I want to play it out for a second. Let's say one of your kids actually starts creating content now.
Yeah.
And they start actually getting very successful and they're growing a following and they're actually making a ton of money. And maybe there's even a tangible maybe they're into designing clothes and there's some, but they're doing it all not in a traditional way, but building it through this. And they come to you and they say, I don't want to go to college. I want to move to New York and keep pursuing making clothes and selling them through my TikTok channel.
I'd be fine with it.
I would say keep doing it and go to college because you don't know what you'll want in 10 years. Just college is just backup. So I'll be like...
Two different parenting styles.
Yeah, 100%. But I will 100% encourage that thing. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The example you gave is fantastic. It's creative.
Yeah.
It's
totally.
Entrepreneurial. Yeah. It's modern media. It's so many things that are really interesting. I would never like put a stop to that. But I'd be like, go to college. Go to a college maybe that you're interested in.
You should check out Parsons.
Check out a thing that's going to make your passion even better. That you're going to learn from. I would just encourage it through that lens.
Yep. And Simon, you said I'd be like, I think
like one of my biggest regrets in life, frankly, was I was like, I should have taken a year off before I went to college.
Yeah.
And so like for something like that, I'd be like, give it a shot for a bit. See where it goes.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? But like to your point, I think at some point, if it did start to run out of steam or whatever, I'd be like, that thing's still on the table.
And there's creator and creator. The example you gave, the precise example is fantastic. But when you hear creator economy, like most of them are
if like my son's like, I want to start doing reaction videos. I'm like,
exactly.
Man. You know what I mean?
You buy a lipstick and advertise the lipstick. I'm like, maybe not.
Okay. Well, let me tell you one more thing that I think is interesting, and then I do really want to focus because we're probably a little more than halfway through, and I want to focus on what do we think the future of college looks like, because we're all agreeing we think college is good among the three of us.
Totally.
We think people should go, but we do have to still talk about what needs to change.
Yes.
But before that, I do just want to bring up an interesting thing I read because I've seen a lot of. In the debate about whether a degree is worth it, do you even need one? We've seen a lot of companies drop degree requirements in the last couple of years. So Walmart, Amazon, Apple, GM, Bank of America, Uber, Nike, Delta, Target, all have announced dropping degree requirements in their job listings.
All jobs?
I was going to say, there's got to be a ceiling on that.
Correct. And I dug into it, right? Because I've always been a little bit like, is this press or is there like, you know, because it was a big thing because everybody was like, you don't even need a college degree. And I think it was even, you know, it was a lot of like early, like Tesla, I think was actually one of the first brands to be like, we're not going to require degrees anymore. We were not going to talk about Tesla. But anyway, I dug into it and there was a big study by Harvard Business Review. And it basically, it's early data. They're, you know, I think they're trying to cover their ass a little bit.
I mean, can we get another source?
Okay. No, but it has nothing to do with the college degree. Just give me a second.
Okay. I'm very curious. I'm very curious.
I literally was curious if the actual hiring practice has changed or if just the job listings have changed. And the early data suggests that, they've taken the degree requirement off the listing, but they're still primarily hiring people with a degree.
Of course.
And they're talking about like, it's just that there is even if it's subconscious, there's a level of comfort that people have with somebody who has the degree in hand.
It's a tie goes to the one with the degree. Like everything in life, like so much of, listen, I think a lot of corporate culture is around hedge, right? Like you can't, if you're like, I'm going to hire this person and hiring, listen, I am not a fan of hiring processes already. Like it is a very weird sort of, it's hard, right? And if you have a little more hedge that someone is like, oh, they have a degree, your boss isn't going to scream at you as loud if it doesn't go well as if you took a flyer on someone without a degree. That's just like behavioral economics. It's cynical, but I think that's true.
Yeah, you're talking about you cover your ass mindset.
Exactly.
But I also think, and I don't think it's talked about as much, and maybe it's subconscious, but I think the life experience part plays more of a role than people realize in their decision making. Because I'll give you an example. I think when somebody does an internship freshman year versus waiting till junior, senior year of college, like your experience, how you're able to show up in that internship and show your work is, and I'm just using that as a small scale example to say, when you're a little bit older, when you've spent some time somewhere doing something, the way that you can just professionally show up in an environment, it's night and day. So it's the soft skills more than the hard skills that I think are really
100%
critical.
Oh my gosh.
But wait, you said like enrollment is down.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Because we've also probably reached we're getting close to reaching peak madness around like your chances of getting in a decent school, statistically speaking, are very low. Like you're going to have like whatever 1% chance or point something percent chance. I don't know the numbers to get into like a good school. If you look at how many people enroll.
Okay,
and then you're like,
I looked into this and I'm sorry, I don't have the exact numbers, but the number of applications are down. Not just the acceptance rates.
Yeah.
So what's interesting?
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Because if we've reached like crazy volumes, and so at some point it's discouraging.
Yeah,
yes.
You're then the price on top.
You're like, wait, I'm a smart kid, but just from a normal town, and I didn't like. I wasn't the captain of a district winning basketball team, and I don't play the piano, and I don't speak
you have
Mandarin,
to be exceptional.
Yeah. And I'm like, what are my chances? It's so discouraging.
Yeah.
I think that's a part that's really hard on the kids.
So how do you encourage it?
You got to open up enrollment. I mean, honestly, like.
Well, let me ask you this. So there are a lot of universities actually offer online classes for free. There are programs now. This is what I think is interesting is that there are often, I think that we're stuck, and I agree with the school of life, right? The traditional reasons to go. But let's just put that aside for a second and recognize that there are actually many, many pathways to learning today. YouTube, first of all, Google creates a lot of classes. There are universities that, yes, you could get an online degree, but there are some universities that literally put out online classes for free. You're not going to get the piece of paper, but you could sit in on a psychology lecture. You can learn about, we're talking endless resources online from credible places, not just like watching, YouTube videos, though YouTube can be credible.
Sure.
So what's the, I don't even remember why I started saying that, but I think, what were you talking about? Oh, you were talking about the people that don't, the discouraging, but you don't have to get in somewhere to necessarily have at least the academic exposure.
It's kind of like but it's like, what does that get you? If you're a 19-year-old kid and you learn all that stuff through a video, and I mean, just as a 19 or 18-year-old kid, just being cynical for a second, like, it's not going to get you the degree. And it's also probably not as interesting as probably what was probably a pretty busy moment in your life if you're trying to figure out who you are. So it's like, I get it. And I think it's lovely they do it. But I don't think that you can ask people at that point to really take it seriously.
I think in a way, it literally proves that the value of the degree is not what you think it is.
I think
or that there is a value of the degree, because
absolutely there is.
I'm going to be a little bit generalist for a second, but I think I'm just going to say the younger generation, because that's the number that's like, it's not worth it. Speaking a little bit out of both sides of their mouth, because you're saying it's not worth it. You don't actually need this degree. It doesn't actually help you do anything, but not using all the online resources, because what's the point if you don't get a degree at the end?
I see what you're saying. I think, like, again, though, like, there's a difference between being like invested in something and kind of passively deciding to do something on your own accord. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think it is helpful, but like, to everything we've already said, like, the idea of university is so much more than the education itself. And then beyond that, you're just going to try harder when you got X amount of skin in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It is a social milestone. Like that, I think it's not just the school of life. I think that there is a status and social milestone component to going to college that's still really important to people.
Yeah.
Let me ask the ignorant question, because my kids are not of age, old enough for me to have done some proper research on all of that. Is there a path to cheap, good education? Like community colleges?
Yes.
That's you can get into universities through community college.
Exactly. So
how expensive is community college?
It's not that expensive.
I don't have the numbers.
It's affordable.
Yeah. Affordable. And many people will do, like, we talk mostly in the US. Exactly. We talk mostly in terms of bachelor's degree, but there's an associate's degree, which is 2 years. You knock out the 2 years, or a lot of people will take prerequisite classes at a community college and then go to the university and be able to graduate in 2.5, 3 years, save a lot of money, and not spend those first 2 years taking like intro to statistics and intro to biology and, you know, the prerequisite classes. I waited till my senior year to do all of those. But I
don't know how to answer your question.
What
this
is the
question
future?
Specifically, what does
the future of college education look like? I don't know how to answer your question.
I mean, I think we can.
I can give you
what
a few
it
thoughts.
looks like is right now it's on the path of, you know, it's like the healthcare system.
Yeah,
it's totally broken, because at least a good chunk of it shouldn't be about making profits. Like there should be more redistribution of wealth generally in society. Like the 1% or 0.5% wealthiest of this country, like, could redistribute at least half of their wealth and not even feel it. And that could go into things that make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And education is one of them. Education and health are really the first two that come to mind when it comes to how different it is from anywhere else in the world.
Right.
Like anywhere else, even just north of the border. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and not even to mention one of the most socialist countries of the world where I grew up. So, which has some good sides, right?
Yeah.
It's insane that the costs have gotten to that level just because there's demand, and there is demand because population's growing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so fucking obvious.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, there should be a little more regulation there to allow for proper education for, I'm going to be the socialist in the room, and I'm really capitalist. Otherwise I wouldn't be here. But that thing drives me insane. It's like the health system. I told you about my experience recently with the health system, which is another subject of its own, but I'm going to talk about it for like 15 seconds.
Okay.
I didn't have health insurance for a couple of months when we started the company.
Yeah.
And when you call, let's say a specialist, I have a knee issue. Okay, what's your insurance? I don't have insurance. So before that, I have a knee issue. What's the cost? $600. No, I can't afford that. Okay, what's your insurance? I don't have insurance. 12 minutes later, it's going to be $125.
It's crazy.
Like my friend, they gave birth 15 years ago in New York, and they dropped the cost from $27,000 to $3,000. It's
crazy.
Yeah. Like I don't know how people don't go to jail for this.
I know.
It's absolutely insane. So anyway, that was my
it's crazy.
My socialist rant for a second.
No, that was excellent.
Can I change the conversation, steer it slightly differently?
But please.
I think the future of education, we can talk about, I'll do the very cheap and convenient and cheerful sort of like lower the cost, open up entry for a lot more people, stop making people have to be exceptional the second they step foot in, be the place that makes people exceptional. I think the other part that people need to figure out and accommodate for right now is AI and the reality of what is education and what is intelligence in a world of AI. Because I think up until this point, there's a lot of things that have frankly been memorize a lot of stuff and be really quick with the memorization of stuff.
Imagine if you're like in your third year of computer science degree last year.
Yeah.
What's going in your head? Like
freak out.
But I will say one thing, sorry, quick segue, but I think it's an important one. No, one thing that's really, really good about the US and education is, and I've never seen that anywhere else, you're not as much on a linear path than in other places.
Yeah. And I think that's actually very handy
so
right now.
So many people like computer science to creativity.
Yeah.
I met people having like philosophy degrees, having sort of psychology degrees, having who are like in business.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's going to grow.
You study psychology in France, you don't end up landing a job at like BNP Paribas. You see what I mean? Like, that's not necessarily going to happen.
Well, let me build on your future vision, Simon, because I think that's interesting. And I think I read about, I admittedly forgot to dig in a little further, but some colleges might be experimenting with something called income share agreements. So like right now, if you get a student loan, you can do an income-based repayment plan, which means you're going to pay based on a percentage of your income versus just a flat. That's like always been a student loan thing. But now maybe some universities are talking about actually waiting to pay tuition until after you get a job. And I like the idea of universities actually having to prove their worth. Like you will get a job if you come here and have this degree. And instead of taking out a loan and then having to pay back the loan, you wait and pay the tuition in retrospect after you get a job. I think that's
so. I've always had
I've
always had a really sort of complicated relationship with this idea because it inherently means that the purpose of university is to get a good job.
That's interesting.
And it's something I thought about a lot when I'll give you an example. When I was very fortunate, I went to a very good program, and part of my program was every 4 months you worked in the field. So I worked at startups, I worked at huge companies we've all heard of and all these things. And surprise, surprise, I paid off my tuition. Now, a lot of times what they'll say is I'll hear people say things like, well, a doctor, you can charge more for doctor school because they're going to be a doctor one day. The problem with that inherently is exactly what happened to me, which is like, I hated it.
Yeah.
And if you're a doctor and you graduate and you hate being a doctor, now you're stuck with you're burdened with even more debt.
I love that you said that because I captured this one quote and I would have forgotten to read it to you, but it really blew my mind. It was somebody went out and interviewed just a bunch of Gen Zers to be like, what's the deal? Like, basically a bunch of Gen Zers who said, I don't want to go to college or I don't think it's worth it. So it was just a bunch of quotes, qualitative research. And this one quote, I was like, oh shit, I never thought about it that way. I've never wanted to be stuck in a life I don't want.
Yeah.
To me, college closes more doors than it opens. And that was it. And I was like, wow, I never thought about it that way, because sure, when you're there, it can open many, many doors. But I think when you leave.
Was that someone who didn't go to college?
I can't remember if they did or if they regretted it. But my point is, you can debate. It's this person's personal experience, right? It doesn't matter. It's the idea that college closes more doors than it opens. It's what you said. Like, there are so many people who suffer. They feel trapped in a life they don't want and suffer through life because they feel they spent all this money and did all this thing and they feel they have to stay on that path.
Yeah, but it does matter. You're saying it doesn't matter. It does matter, because this is purely a marketing thing. The one thing that we've been talking about, where like we repeatedly in the last 45 minutes, is like, it's not about the degree and it's not necessarily linear. So this is just a marketing thing. This is a total misperception, because it doesn't close any door. No, especially here.
I think that's something that colleges have to overcome.
Exactly.
I think they 100%. have to. That's why I think the marketing of universities is shit. Honestly,
if you did it,
let's talk, like, not talk about it, but a great example is this season of White Lotus. I won't make any spoilers because some people at this table are still behind. Yes, well, some people at this table, not me.
I haven't seen it.
Is still behind.
Although
you don't care about the spoilers. Anyway, it doesn't matter. All I'm going to say is it was a very prominent part of a storyline that one of the characters went to Duke, and a lot of people who went to Duke, and even I think Duke itself, were sort of upset at the portrayal of this guy as sort of a stereotypical, like, finance bro, partier, like, whatever. Right. And it was like, I'm sorry, Duke, I think that's a you problem, not a White Lotus problem. Like, you've got a brand issue, and that's not on us. That's on you.
Totally.
So
totally
I think the marketing of universities really needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what we should fix. That's another episode. How do we fix marketing that was the intro episode about education, and then we need another one to fix
if you created some sort of way of going to a university where the first year would be sort of a figure it out sort of year, and there was a lot lower cost.
Yeah.
And then it was like, all right, if you found something interesting here, it's like, I mean, this is literally like sort of weirdly like the classic, like, product-led marketing kind of like
you
tactic,
like it, and then
which is like you give them the freemium model.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Which is
that's
like,
interesting.
For the first year, you can just show up. We'll give you a very low thing. We'll do sort of a general kind of collection of things, and you can kind of figure it out.
And if you see the value,
and then if you see the value and you see the thing that you want to go pursue, okay, then let's have a negotiation then about what that possibility could be.
Yeah, but again, that is the model. The model is just about profit, not about
I know,
and like or success is not measured in the happiness of the client. It's measured in how much money the company is going to make. And so, if it were measuring the happiness of the client, you could do that. But now you get trapped into like a $60,000 a year thing where you're like, am I just wasting $60,000? No, they're not going to go till the end. You see what I mean? Like, you got to shift the whole model. The incentive model is going to change.
Yeah,
I think.
No, wait, why would you be wasting $60,000?
At that point, you at least have an idea.
To be able to implement what Simon's saying, you need to shift the whole incentive of the industry.
Yeah, great. Let's do it.
Cool. All right. But then I'm going to give you a better one, which is amazing in France. You can go in one of the best universities of France for free. And you can be a doctor, and you can study for like 7-8 years for free. And then you can be like a surgeon. And I'm not kidding.
You're just a doctor.
And then you're a brilliant human who can save lives, and you've studied pretty much for free.
Yeah.
So that exists in some places in the world.
I have another idea / question. I'm sure there's a million reasons why what I'm about to say wouldn't work, but who decided it had to be 4 years? Like, why not 3?
There are 3-year programs. I thought you said an associate is a 2-year.
Well, yeah, sure. But an associate's degree is a 2-year program, but some would argue you have to then go get the bachelor's to have the full, like, I'm talking about being able to get a bachelor's degree, eradicate the idea that it has to be 4 years, 4 whole years of living on a college campus.
That's a lot of trade schools too.
Exactly.
But I know, but I'm talking about taking that model and applying it to universities. Like, why does it have to, if enrollment is dropping because costs are rising and because people don't necessarily see the value in a degree, maybe they see the value in the school of life philosophy, but they're like, I'm still not going to spend 4 years paying for the school of life. Okay.
Yeah.
You can go to insert prominent university here, and get a bachelor's degree, but it's 3 years, not 4. Why is it a 4-year thing? Who decided that?
You can fast track, right?
Question. I don't know.
There are people who go through it faster. I could be wrong though.
I did.
Yeah. I feel like I got baited into that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, guys.
I mean,
in the words of Simon, I'm pretty smart.
You're pretty smart. The finance thing is such a, as you can tell, because I think we've talked for 50 minutes being like, let's put that aside. And we just talked about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard not to go this entire dynamic is built around the ridiculous cost, the ridiculous difficulty of getting into these schools and all of these sort of things that have built the circumstances that we're now currently stuck in. Because I think there's a lot of things that, like, if you actually wanted to look at what the future of like an interesting university experience could be like, I think there's a lot of things you could also improve there. But it's like, does it even matter if it's going to cost $80K in 10 years? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it is so hard to untangle this.
That's I guess, Roman, you're right. The better question is, how do you market universities? Because I think the answer is the degree is worth it because it's worth more than what you think it is. Its value is more than you think it is. And then people are like, I agree with you. The social life experience, all of that, worth it, but I will not pay $100 bajillion for it. And therein lies the problem.
It's like you can sell a delicious hamburger, but if you go, it's going to cost you $10,000. At some point, people are like, I don't know.
Yeah, like,
you know
maybe I don't
mean?
need that hamburger.
Yeah.
I want that hamburger.
I want it. It sounds great.
Need it.
You know what I mean? And that's the toughest part right now.
Yeah.
Are you trying to nudge your kids towards a Canadian education?
No, I'm just telling them it exists.
Yeah, I am. I'm actively pushing them towards a Canadian education.
But no, I'm not. We're going to let them do that.
I'm like, we should go check out Montreal sometime. We should go check out Halifax. There's some great schools there.
You know how that backfires, right?
Yeah, they want to go to like the most expensive out-of-state
just do
school.
the absolute opposite thing that you want them to do.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to come around and just suggest that they close their eyes and pick a state on the map. And
I mean,
in
in our little expat community in LA, I would say the majority of kids that I've seen have wanted to leave the US.
Yeah.
Mostly they wanted to go back to Europe.
Yeah, that makes
sense. They wanted to check London. They wanted to be in Paris. They wanted to be like, okay, that's where my parents are from.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go check it out. They've had a chance to just visit it a million times.
Exactly.
And so they're like, what's it like to live here as a student?
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Like, European cities as a student is also pretty. The college experience in the US is probably absolutely amazing. It's one of the things I wish I could have experienced.
Me too.
But being in a European city is also really, really cool. So I think there's benefits to pros and cons to both. So this is a tangent, but whatever. We're clearly not cracking this.
Does like study abroad exist in the same way? Like, you go to a 4-year university, but then
1 year you go somewhere else.
1 year go somewhere else.
Yeah. I went to Thailand.
Yeah.
You did a year?
6 months.
6 months, half a year. Yeah. Did you study abroad,
No.
Simon?
No. I did not.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I didn't graduate quickly, nor did I study abroad.
Wow.
I was just
loser.
Old school. Do it the normal way.
Yeah. Okay. I just was curious because but actually, like, that the life experience of that is absolutely insane. Like, I think I would go. Well, I would spend the rest of my life in academia if I could, but
we were the first generation to experience that. Our parents didn't get to go abroad that easy, and now it's just common, like almost table stakes. Like, oh, where are you going to go? No. Are you going to?
Is it really? Else? Is it that common now?
It's very common.
Wow. Yeah.
Very, very common. To spend at least 6 months, at least, abroad in your, at some point in your career.
That's really cool.
Yeah. If not, there are some programs where it's actually baked into the program. Like if you're doing a political science degree or, an international economics 100%. Degree, it's like part of the program versus a choice that you even get to make.
Wow.
And I think it's amazing.
Well, I guess if you're doing global economics, so like it'd be good to
also
span the globe.
some more like straight down the middle things.
Yeah.
Okay. And it is
a friend of mine
amazing.
did, like, he went to France actually, when we were in college and
loved it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know we have like a minute and a half. Every time I host, I think I do the worst job of recapping because I get so into the conversation, I forget to take any notes. I'm much better at taking notes when I'm not hosting. But I think what we mostly talked about, we really didn't imagine the future too much on what university could be or how it could change or what it could look like. I think we spent most of the conversation really just talking about what we believe is the value of a degree.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good starting place, though, because to crack the problem, if the media conversation is the degree isn't worth it, we're starting from a place of, but what if it was?
Yeah. And
how do you make it worth it? And I think that's a really interesting, we actually changed the question, which actually is a thing we like to do often. It's not what's the future of universities. It's what is the worth of a degree. Mm-hmm. And I think that's actually a better question, because if you identify the worth of a degree, you actually get to better enrollment, better future of universities, what they actually offer people, and what about the experience are you selling beyond the obvious ticket to the job market. Yeah. And I think the ticket to the job market is what has been the limiting factor.
I agree.
In the growth of universities. So that's not exactly a recap of the conversation, but I think that's mostly what we talked about. There it is.
There it is. Perfect timing.
Right.
Look at that.
I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Look at that.
So much. Anything I missed or anything you want to add? I mean, I'll ask whether we cracked it, but before that, any final thoughts?
No, not really. No.
Roman?
No.
Did we crack it?
No, we didn't, but it was an awesome conversation.
Simon?
No, I mean, again, there's too many things that make it sort of uncrackable unless you want to be like way too cute about it.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And so like, it was kind of this thing of like, I see some obvious things, but these obvious, it's like so many things where you're just like, why don't we all just do this? And it's like, well, if it was that easy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, no, we did not.
I agree. But I like our reframing of the question. I think we asked a better question than the question I started with. So I always love that. Cool.
Yeah.
And that was fun.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for listening to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Crack It in an Hour. If you like the show, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you have questions, thoughts, or feedback, shoot us an email at hello@crackitpodcast.com or on Instagram @crackitpodcast. Music done by Michael Anastasi, cover art shot by Mick Mint, and all things audio and video taken care of by Nathan Nash. See you next time.